How's it going, everybody? I think we can all agree that raids are the pinnacle of Destiny 2 activities, and everyone should be able to experience them. Well, just 5 days from today, on August 26th, a raid from Destiny 1 will make its debut in the modern era of Destiny 2. It hasn't been announced yet, but I predict it's gonna be King's Fall. In today's video, I'll break down everything you need to know about the raid so you can be fully prepared for when you have a go at it. This includes how to beat the encounter, loadouts, tips, tricks, predictions, and more. If you're curious about the secret chests in the raid, I'll have guides to them at the end of the video, and I'll let you know what part has a secret chest when we get to it. If you like visual graphics, you'll be happy to know that I've created encounter maps with labels to help explain certain mechanics. Whether you're looking for a day one completion or you just want to have a good time, you've come to the right place. My name is Dub, and this is King's Fall Boot Camp. Timestamps are in the description if you're looking for something specific, and I've also put links to the encounter maps if you want to look at them individually. Now, let's talk about team composition. King's Fall has 4 boss encounters and 2 non-boss encounters. A day 1 raid is hard because the contest modifier caps you at around 15 to 20 power under each encounter. In most cases, this means the difficulty will really come down to whether or not your team can deal enough damage to kill a boss in the given phases. Because we want to bring in characters that are good for damage, I would recommend at least 2 hunters, because they have things like Golden Gun, Blade Barrage, and Tether. Having at least 2 warlocks will be nice for their rifts and wells to stay alive. They also have things like stasis turrets for crowd control. Titans aren't as needed in this raid because every other class can pretty much do everything that Titans can, but better, so fill up your last 2 spots with whatever you want. Finally, make sure to get a blinding grenade launcher before the raid releases. I feel like these are still very underrated, even though they can literally stop almost any enemy in the game from shooting at you. They'll be good in every encounter, so this will be the only time I mention them. Oh, and one last thing, please make sure everyone on your team has 100 resilience. It's borderline mandatory in this sandbox, and especially in a ruthless day 1 raid. We'll get into the specifics of loadouts when we get to each encounter, so let's head on to the first one. When you load into the raid, you spawn directly into the first encounter, Statues. The playing area is split up into 4 sections, left, middle, right, and statue hall. Your objective is to fill up all 6 statues in the statue hall by dunking 12 relics in total, 2 in each statue. Once all 6 statues are complete, the portal up ahead will open, and you've beaten the encounter. There are 2 main mechanics in this encounter, relics and doors. Relics are what must be picked up by players and dunked into the statues, and they spawn in pairs. 1 relic will be on the left half of the playing area, and 1 relic will be on the right half. Doors spawn when a relic is picked up, and they exist to slow down runners as they make their way to the statue hall. Doors appear in a select few places around the room. 3 doors can be seen from the middle, which are the left mid door, the middle door, and the right mid door. The other 2 are on the far ends of the left and right tunnels. All doors around the room spawn when a relic is picked up, so you want to make sure to pick up the relics at around the same time. Doors can be broken by simply being shot at. You start the encounter by picking up the relics in middle. Before you start though, split the team up into 3 groups of 2. 1 group will be stationed on the left section of the map, another group will stay in the middle area, and the third will be on the right side. 1 person from the left group and 1 person from the right will be the designated relic runners for the encounter. The other people from the left and right groups will hang out in the tunnels on their respective side to kill ads and open doors. Finally, the middle group will stay in mid and kill enemies, as well as open the doors for the relic runners. To start, have each relic runner pick up their relic. When they pick up the relic, they'll both run into the statue hall and dunk the relics into the statue. When the statue is complete, it will say a statue hums with dark energy on the bottom left of the screen. The relics should be dunked at around the same time, or else the statue won't complete. I would say you have about 10 seconds to dunk both, give or take. This is the basic cycle of the whole encounter. Relic runners pick up the relic on their side, they run to the statue hall, and dunk the relic. When the first set of relics are dunked, new relics will spawn. The second set will be past the tunnels on each side, around where the bridge is. The third will be past that, and they will keep spawning further out from the middle and eventually reach this big room, which is at the outer part of each side. And that is pretty much the whole job of the relic runners. Just make sure you communicate with the other relic runner when you're picking up, talk to the door openers if a door needs to be opened, and you'll finish the encounter in no time. Let's talk about a few tips and tricks. Relic runners will want to use things that make them go faster, so movement exotics like Dune Marchers, Transversive Steps, and Stompies will be helpful. Another way for relic runners to be faster is to go out through the statue hall once you've dunked a relic to get to your side, rather than running back to the middle and through the tunnels every time. There are even little platforms to help you with the jumping. Now, let's talk about your loadout. This encounter is mainly just killing a bunch of enemies. Any builds you have that are good for purely slaying ads or survivability will be good enough here. Rockets and Witherhorde will be perfect for the people in middle. Snipers will be good all around to break the doors. The people hanging out in the tunnels might want to run shotguns or fusion rifles because they'll be playing more close quarters. Beware of the shielded phalanxes if you're playing there. I predict those phalanxes might actually become unstoppable champions in the Destiny 2 version, so keep that in mind. This encounter is on the easier side. It's the opening one after all. Once you've beat it, now run through the big portal. There's a good amount of running from now until the next encounter. You'll eventually get to this big gap and you cross it by riding the tomb ships that fly around. On the other side of the gap is a chest, so if you want it, use the timestamp in the description to go to the chest guide and then come back here. Each ship will disappear after a while, so you have to find the next one to jump on. At least 3 players will have to cross the gap, because on the other side are 2 plates that must be stood on, and they open a hive barrier door that the 3rd player must go through. Be careful with the enemies too. You might want to have an Invis Hunter run this. They can then just run through where the Shrieker is, up the elevator, and pull everyone to the next encounter. Have fun with this jumping puzzle if it's your first time. If you do want a trick though, in Destiny 1 it's possible to sword fly across the gap. In Destiny 2, they might patch this, but if not, just have 3 people fly across using one of the various methods of flying to save your team some time. Keep going forward and you'll reach the next encounter, Totems. The playing area is simple. 1 small room on the left, the central area, and 1 small room on the right. Your objective is to deposit a buff called Deathsinger's Power 24 times onto the middle plate. 12 deposits will come from the left team, and 12 will come from the right. Do this while keeping players on the left and right plates to prevent a wipe. Once all stacks are deposited, the portal in front will open, and you've completed the encounter. There are 3 main mechanics in this encounter: plates, the brand buff, and the Deathsinger's Power buff. There are 3 plates in this encounter, 1 in the left room, 1 in the middle, and 1 in the right room. The middle plate is used to deposit stacks of Deathsinger's Power. The left and right plates are plates that must be stood on throughout the whole encounter. The true name of these left and right plates are Annihilator Totems, so we'll just call them that for now. If one of the Annihilator Totems is not being stood on for a long enough time, the whole team will be killed. The outer rooms are toxic, however, and will deal damage over time. This is where the brand buff comes in. The brand buff is what is picked up to start the encounter. The people who have this buff will have a protective aura around them. This aura will allow players to safely stay in the outer rooms without dying, which means you can then stay on the totems and prevent a wipe. The brand buff has a 30-second timer, and when it reaches 0, that brand buff will be passed on to whoever is standing in the aura with the buff holder. The person who previously had the brand buff will lose it and in turn gain 10 stacks of Deathsinger's Power. This person will now go to the middle plate and deposit those stacks. The brand buff and Deathsinger's Power buff will be constantly switching between players on a side, like a relay race. To start the encounter, you have to pick up the brand buffs. There are 2 brand buffs at the start. One is for the left team, called Brand of the Unraveler, and one is for the right team, called Brand of the Weaver. Before you start, split the team up into 2 groups of 3. One team will be the left team, and one team will be the right team. Both sides do the exact same thing, with the only difference being the name of the buff, so I'll just refer to one side from now on. One person from the group will have to pick up the brand buff to start the encounter. We'll call them Player 1. Player 1 will then run to the totem on their side and stand on it. Another person from their group will follow Player 1 to the totem. This will be Player 2. Player 3 will stay in middle at the start to kill enemies that come out of the portal. If not killed, these enemies will head over to the left and right sides to disrupt the totems. Players 1 and 2 will just stay on the totem and survive until player 1's buff timer runs out. When this timer runs out, a couple of things will happen. First, player 1 will lose the buff and gain Deathsinger's Power times 10. Second, player 2 will gain the brand buff. Third, some more enemies will spawn around the map, including Boomer Knights on the catwalks in the left and right rooms. Make sure to take those out or else they'll ruin your day. Since player 1 now has Deathsinger's Power, they'll want to run to the middle plate in order to deposit all 10 of those stacks. As player 1 is running to the middle, Player 3, who's been in the middle since the start, will want to now come over to Player 2 on the totem. Player 2 and 3 will wait on the plate until Player 2's buff timer runs out. Player 3 will then gain the brand buff, and Player 2 will head to the middle to deposit Deathsinger's power. Player 1 should have deposited all 10 of their stacks by this point, and they'll head back to their totem. The team will repeat this cycle until each side has made 12 trips to the middle. Time for tips and tricks. The only thing I have to say about this encounter is that you can see your progress by looking at the symbols on the sides of the big portal in the middle. This encounter is a simple, straightforward plate encounter. Not much to it. Let's talk loadouts now. I think you would be completely fine if you kept the same loadout as statues. There are some enemies high up, so snipers and linear fusions will be good for that. Waveframe grenade launchers could be good against all the enemies that spill out of middle. Elemental well mods have risen in popularity, and some good ones for survivability are Well of Life and Well of Tenacity. Font of Might is always great to increase your damage. As for subclasses, Well of Radiance with Phoenix Protocol will be amazing to place on the plates. Tether with Orpheus Rigs will be great as well to keep middle under control. And that's it for loadouts. There are some opportunities for them to add champions, like maybe unstoppable ogres from the big portal in middle, or making the Boomer Knights anti-barrier. And that's all for totems. Slightly harder than statues, but still not too bad. Next encounter is a boss fight though, so we might be in some trouble, but not really, because I got you covered. Step into literally the next room and you've reached Warpriest. This room is divided into 3 sections: top left, lower middle, and middle right. Your objective? Well, it's to kill the Warpriest. Half of the encounter is surviving until a specific knight spawns. This knight spawns on each side. Once all 3 knights are dead, you'll head into the meat of the encounter. There are 4 main mechanics in Warpriest: monoliths, glyphs, plates, and the brand of the initiate buff. There are 3 monoliths, and they're used to display glowing glyphs. These glyphs appear after killing all 3 knights, and they appear in a certain order, called the glyph sequence. This sequence tells you what order to stand on the plates. Someone will read the order that the glyphs appear in, and players will step on and stay on the plates until all 3 plates are being stood on. The last person to stand on a plate will gain a buff called Brand of the Initiate. This will mark the start of the damage phase. In order to do damage to the boss, you must be standing in the aura of the Initiate. The buff holder can do damage to the boss if they want, but that is not their main focus. The Brand of the Initiate buff has 5 stacks and a timer. If this timer reaches 0, the buff holder will die and the buff will be passed on to another player. The way to prevent this is for the buff holder to kill an enemy before the timer reaches 0. Doing so will get rid of 1 stack and reset the timer. When all stacks are used, the damage phase will end, and the Warpriest will call upon the Oculus. This just means he will kill you if you're not standing behind a solid object. It's best to just stand behind a monolith for this, and you don't have to be right up to it, it just needs to block you from the front. After the boss does his Oculus attack, one of the monoliths will disappear. Repeat all of this and kill the boss, and you've completed the encounter. To start, simply stand on all 3 plates at the same time. Before you start though, split the team up into 3 groups of 2. 2 people will play left, 2 people will play down in middle, and 2 people will be on the right. Nothing major happens until the glyph sequence, so just kill enemies and survive. While doing this, special acolytes will spawn, and when defeated, they will empower other acolytes around it with an ogre-like beam. Make sure to defeat the normal acolytes before killing this special one, so they don't enter their enraged state. After a little while, 3 knights will spawn, 1 on each side. Once all 3 knights are dead, the glyph sequence begins. The glyphs will appear 1 at a time on the back of the monoliths, so have someone stand down in the middle on the side close to the boss to read the glyphs. Have players stand on the plates that correspond to the glyph. So if it's left glyph first, stand on the left plate first, right glyph, right plate, and so on. If you step on a plate in the wrong order or simply take too long to step on the correct one, you'll have to restart the sequence. Whoever stands on the final plate in the correct order will gain the Brand of the Initiate buff, and this will mark the start of the damage phase. The team will want to deal damage from behind the monoliths, which generally means standing on the plates is good enough. During damage, the Brand of the Initiate holder will kill enemies to keep the timer going. The team will damage, and the phase will end. The boss will do his Oculus attack and destroy a monolith, which means for the next damage phase, you have to stand behind a new monolith. Just keep going through the encounter until you kill the boss. Once the boss reaches about 25% health, taken enemies will now spawn. Same mechanics, just slightly harder. That's everything you need to know to beat the encounter. Now time for some tips and tricks. You can actually tell what monolith the Warpriest will take out next before he even destroys it. Whatever side plate is last in the glyph sequence is the monolith he will destroy. Another tip. Oh my god. Come on, man. Tip, really? Another tip is that you can actually deal damage as close to the boss as you want. Some damage strategies in Destiny 1 had teams put a bubble on the boss's feet and damage him with shotguns and swords. This might be good in Destiny 2 as well, but probably not in a day 1 raid because the boss might one-shot you with his stomp. Just keep it in mind for your further runs. Speaking of damage, let's talk about the most important thing of a boss encounter, loadouts. Your main focus when creating your loadout for this encounter will 100% be damage. Surviving the part before the damage phase is important, of course, but what's the use in surviving if your team can't do enough damage to the boss? This section can apply to pretty much the rest of the raid, because the rest of the raid is just boss fights, of course, so listen good. Hunters, you guys have a lot of great options for damage. Marksman Golden Gun with Celestial Nighthawk or Starter Scales is a great choice. Quiver Tether with either Orpheus Rigs or Starter Scales is good as well, and the Tether will actually debuff the target for your team, so it's a win-win. With R 3.0, Hunters get a new one-and-done super, so keep an eye out for that. Warlocks, Chaos Reach might be good again with R 3.0, and make sure to run Geomag Stabilizers with that if you're using it. But I think a Well of Radiance with Lunafactions will be more useful for the whole team for obvious reasons. Titans, you're kind of out of luck here. Well is straight up better than Bubble. You can't Thunder Crash the boss because he's too far away. Banner Shield could be helpful if your team is really struggling to stay alive during damage, but a Well or Healing Rift should be able to keep you safe. And besides, Banner Shield gets rid of an entire player's worth of damage for only a 40% damage buff. 40% does not make up for a whole player not doing damage. For the record, Well is a 25% damage buff. That's the ability side of things. Time for weapons. Linear fusions are currently the top dogs for damage. Storm Chaser with Firing Line is arguably the best, but I like a Bait and Switch Cataclysmic from Vow better. Bait and Switch is a 35% damage buff versus Firing Line, which is only 20%. Both great options though. Reed's Regret is another pretty good linear fusion if you don't have the other ones. Rockets are amazing as well. Hothead and Hezen Vengeance are the top choices, with Explosive Light and Lasting Impression being the standout perks for DPS. Use autoloading holster on your rocket if you want to use Izanagi as your special. The Izzy rocket combo is strong even today. To do it, just shoot Izzy, reload, switch to rocket, shoot rocket, switch to Izzy, repeat. Refrain from using aggressive frame rockets like Palmyra or Ascendancy because they inherently do 20% less damage than adaptive frames. This is because of their intrinsic tracking, and for the Warpriest and other bosses, I don't think tracking is really needed. If you are using rockets, have at least one person on your team run Gallahorn for the Wolfpack rounds. Essentially, this will give all legendary rockets Wolfpack rounds, which is just free damage at that point. Some good legendary snipers for special weapon options are Succession from Deepstone Crypt, Praedyth's Revenge from Vogue, and even the Adored from the exotic kiosk in the tower. Divinity is always a popular choice, but I'm not sure how good it'll be with this boss. If you're wondering, Divinity applies a 30% debuff to targets, and Tether does as well, so if you have a Tether, you probably don't need Div. There are probably a ton more weapons and exotics that are viable for damage. This is just what I expect my team will be using. If you care about mods, Font of Might is a 25% buff to weapons that match the element of the elemental well you pick up, and your subclass has to be matching the element of your weapon. This buff works with other damage buffs like Well of Radiance, Bubble, Empowering Rifts, High Energy Fire, etc. The only problem with Font of Might in this encounter is that you might not be able to get the Elemental Well right before damage starts. I imagine it's possible, but it might be too much work to set up. For further encounters though, Font of Might could probably be used more efficiently. One last mod that relates to damage is Power of Rasputin, which makes you do 10% more damage to enemies that are near a Warmind cell. You can pair this with Grasp of the Warmind to throw it at the boss and get a 10% damage buff that stacks on top of all of your other buffs, including Font of Might. This is much more doable than Font of Might for Warpriest, and I know I'll be trying to do it with my group. Make sure a debuff is always applied, try to do as much damage as possible, and good luck with the Warpriest. For champions, it's always a possibility they add some, but I don't think they will for this encounter. Well, now you've beaten the Warpriest. To get to the next boss encounter, Golgoroth, you have to navigate through Golgoroth's Cellar. Golgoroth's Cellar is just a maze. There is a chest in this maze, so if you want that, use the timestamp in the description. If you want to run it blind, go ahead, have fun. If you want to know the directions to the exit, I have a map on the screen. Just remember from the start, you will make the turns right, left, left, and finally right, and you're home free. Beware of the holes in the ground. Now on to the big ogre, Golgoroth. This room is pretty much just a big oval. Well, small oval, because the room is pretty small actually. You have the front area, walkways that go around the edge of the room, and a pit in the middle. Your objective is to kill Golgoroth. Just like Warpriest, nothing really happens until the start of the damage phase. You just kill enemies and survive until they're all dead. There are two main mechanics in this encounter, Pools of Reclaimed Light and Golgoroth's Gaze. Both of these come into play during damage. Pools of Reclaimed Light allow you to do damage to Golgoroth, and players must be standing in the pool to deal damage. A pool spawns when one of the orbs on the ceiling is broken. There are 6 orbs, which means 6 pools of Reclaimed Light can be used in a damage phase. Golgoroth's Gaze is given to whoever shoots the glowing spot on Golgoroth's back. Whoever takes Golgoroth's Gaze will have it for 20 seconds, and while they have it, the boss will solely focus on them. Golgoroth will face the direction of the player and will shoot tracking orbs at them. These tracking orbs do big damage, so whoever has Golgoroth's Gaze will want to shoot at them. You will have 2 players trading Golgoroth's Gaze back and forth, so at around 5 seconds of your timer, the other person will want to shoot Golgoroth's back and take his gaze. The gaze holders will want to position themselves so the people dealing damage can see Golgoroth's stomach. The 4 people doing damage will be in the pit, because that's where the pools of light drop, and the 2 people trading the gaze will want to stand on the left and right walkways. The damage phase will end once all 6 pools have been used, or if the gaze isn't taken before the 20-second timer runs out, or if the gaze holder dies. There is one more small mechanic, and that's the pillar near the stairs in the back. This isn't that significant, it just means if 6 players die in total, all 6 symbols on the pillar will light up and the whole team will be killed. And that's how the mechanics work. Let's now do a run through of the encounter. You start by shooting the hanging orb above Golgoroth's pit. Before you start though, split the team into 2 groups of 3. One team will kill enemies on the left and one team will kill enemies on the right. You'll also want to assign the 2 gaze holders before you start. Like I said before, just kill all the enemies until they stop spawning. During this part, those same special acolytes from Warpriest will spawn. They make other acolytes shoot Ogre Blast when killed, so just be sure to kill all the normal acolytes before you kill the special one. Once all the enemies are dead and no longer spawn, you can get ready for damage. The 4 people doing damage will want to choose which orb they'll start with. You can name the orbs to make this easier. From the entrance of the room, call the right orbs R1, R2, and R3, and call the left orbs L1, L2, and L3. I would recommend starting with L1. When the first orb is broken, have the gaze holder that is on the side of that orb take the gaze. Once the gaze is took, players can jump into the pool for damage. Remember to have the gaze holders position themselves correctly, and players dealing damage should be shooting at the stomach. While in the pit, damage team will want to watch out for cursed thrall that spawn at the far end of the room and in the little caves on the front side of the pit. These cursed thrall are simply there to kill you. The first gaze holder will be counting down their timer, and when they reach about 15 seconds, the other gaze holder will want to start shooting at and break the next orb that the damage team will go to. This is so damage team doesn't have to take their focus off damage and can just run straight to the next pool. By the way, if you started with L1, the next orb shot should be R1, then L2, then R2, then L3, and finally R3. Basically just going back and forth between the sides. When the first gaze holder's timer reaches about 5 seconds, the second gaze holder will want to shoot at Golgoroth's back to take the gaze. No enemies will attack the gaze holders up on the walkways, so you can focus on those tracking orbs the boss shoots at you. Have the gaze holders repeat this cycle of taking the gaze and breaking the pools of light orbs until all 6 orbs have been used. If all 6 orbs are used but you don't kill the boss, it simply means you begin the whole process again, with killing ads first and then leading into damage. When health is at 25%, Taken Thrall will now spawn instead of normal Thrall, and they'll also replace the Cursed Thrall in the pit during damage. One last thing, if one of the gaze holders does die, or you fail to take the gaze in time, Golgoroth will do a slam attack if the people in the pit are close enough to him, and they'll probably all die. Keep doing all of this until Golgoroth is killed. Now there is one thing I didn't mention, but I will now. In Destiny 1, hard mode raids had extra mechanics added to them. Golgoroth is one of the encounters in King's Fall that had something added. This added mechanic was called Unstable Light. While doing damage, someone on the team would gain unstable light, which means they'll explode after a certain amount of time. If that person is near the team when the timer runs out, they'll kill whoever is near them. Just have the person with unstable light either run up to Golgoroth or jump out of the pit before their timer runs out to avoid killing his teammates. I didn't talk about this during the explanation because I'm not sure if it'll be added to the Destiny 2 version, but I want to tell you about it just in case. Now, let's talk about some tips and tricks to make this encounter easier. First up, make sure the gaze holders are communicating with each other, as well as the damage team. Count down your timer and let the damage team know if you can't break the pool of light orb. They can simply stop damaging their current pool early and shoot the next one. Talking with your team is key, and if you need help, give a shout. Next, in between pools, if you need to jump out of the pit to get to the next pool, then go ahead. That's it for tips. Now, let's discuss your loadouts. Like with Warpriest, you want to mainly base your loadout around doing as much damage as possible. Warlocks, you want to for sure run Well of Radiance with Lunafactions. It'll help keep your team safe from those cursed thrall in the pit, and increase your damage. Hunters have at least one tether for the debuff. Use Quiver over Deadfall because then you can space out your shots to make the debuff last longer and do big damage. Other hunters can use Marksman Goldie with either Celestial or Star Eaters. Remember, you do get a damage buff to your Golden Gun if you're Radiant when you activate it, but this is currently bugged and doesn't work inside of a well, so yeah. Titans, you're out of luck again. The Stasis Super for Titan actually does really good damage if you're using Syntheseps, but I'm not sure how the crystals would interact with Golgoroth. You might just want to make your Titans the gaze holders. That's it for abilities, pretty much the same as Warpriest. Now, time for weapons. I think linear fusions are the best option for this, since you have to shoot at Golgoroth's stomach to do big damage. Storm Chaser, Cataclysmic, Reed's Regret, even Sleeper Simulant. I'll also be showing them on the screen so you can know what's best. Whisper of the Worm could be good for this as well, but linear fusions are just so dang strong. Rockets are for sure a no-go. I don't think I can remember a time in Destiny 1 when rockets were used for Golgoroth. It was either snipers or machine guns. Speaking of machine guns, they did get a damage buff earlier this season, but I don't think they'll be good enough for damage. Machine guns are a great weapon type for gaze holders though, both to take the gaze and shoot the orbs. As for exotics, I think Izanagi will be good as a special weapon. If rockets do end up working, the Izzy rocket strap will be good to use as always. Divinity could be good as well, but we're not sure how it'll interact with a boss like Golgoroth, so that'll be something to test on day 1. I think having at least one player with Witherhoard will be nice, so they can shoot it in the pit during damage to kill the Thrall. This could be either someone on damage team or one of the gaze holders. As for legendary special weapons, snipers are a good choice. Even if you're only using one, slug shotguns still do a lot of damage, so they're a good choice too. On the mod side of things, I think Fontamite will be a lot more doable here than Warpriest, since enemies come right up to you in the pit. Power of Rasputin will always be good if you can pull it off for the 10% extra damage. And that's it for your loadout. If they decide to add any champions, I don't think it'll be during damage, probably just the part before. And the absolute final thing I'll say about this encounter is about strategies. In Destiny 1, some teams will only use one pool of reclaimed light for damage. This meant you only needed one gaze holder, and they only had to take the gaze one time. But this also meant that you only had 20 seconds of that gaze to do damage. Essentially, it was a safer method, but it made the encounter much longer. The reason I bring this up is because one of the most speculated things about this raid in Destiny 2 is that they'll force you to use all 6 pools of reclaimed light. That's why I taught you the 2 gaze holder method, to have you prepared for the future. Now that deserves a like. And now time to head to the last area of the raid, the place where the final 2 encounters take place. You'll have to do a lot of running and jumping to get there. You'll eventually reach this ledge of an area called the Transept. There is a secret chest in the Transept, so use the timestamp in the description to skip to that if you want it. In the Transept, pusher thingies will come out of the wall to try and push you off. The exit of this area is on the same side from which you enter, just all the way down on the other end. Just jump on the platforms until you reach this area with a plate. Standing on the plate will make floating platforms appear. Have someone stand on the first plate while someone jumps over and stands on the second plate. If both plates are being stepped on at the same time, the platforms will stay permanently. Standing in the second plate will reveal more platforms, so just do the same thing with plates 2 and 3 to make more platforms reveal permanently. After the third plate, just follow the ledges, jump to higher ledges, and you'll reach the exit. Everyone must reach the exit for the door to open. If you don't want to mess with all those plates, you can cheese the jumping puzzle by using a sword to swing up the wall. You can do this because it's slanted. Just swing, jump, swing, jump, swing, jump, repeat. This should work in Destiny 2. After you go through the door, just go up, you'll reach another door, and this will go to the next encounter, the Daughters of Oryx. This area is really just one big room, but for the sake of mechanics, we'll split it up into 4 sections: close left, close right, far left, and far right. Your objective is to kill both Daughters of Oryx. I'll preface this encounter by saying it's probably the easiest encounter in the raid, besides the fact that you need to do boss damage. That's just my opinion, of course. There are 5 main mechanics in this encounter: torn between dimensions, the plates, the hymn of weaving / dirge of unraveling timer, the brand, and the aura. Before the encounter even starts, someone will become torn between dimensions. This means there will be the runner, and they will have to get the brand. You can see the brand before the encounter starts, floating in the air above one of the 4 plates. We'll name the plates L1, R1, L2, and R2, with 1s being close to the entrance and 2s being far from the entrance. Stepping on a plate will start the encounter. This encounter is a full ride through, and what I mean by that is there's no real downtime or time to breathe once it's started. This is because of the hymn of weaving / dirge of unraveling timer. The only difference between these 2 timers is that one is a song being sung by the right sister, and the other is a song being sung by the left sister. These 2 timers are the same mechanic, a countdown, and if it reaches 0, everyone dies. That is unless you are standing in the aura, which is the main thing you are trying to get. Here's how you get the aura. Once the person that is torn between dimensions gets the brand that's in the air, you will jump into the aura of the sister that is not glowing and hold down the interact button. This will steal the aura from her and give it to you, and it'll also mean you can do damage to the sister since her aura is now gone. How do you get the brand though? Well, at the start, the brand will be floating above one of the plates. Players will have to stand on the other 3 plates, which will activate platforms in the air that the person torn between dimensions can see and jump on. Players must jump on the plates in order and stay on until the brand is retrieved. The order in which you jump on plates is simply in the counterclockwise direction from the plate that the brand is floating above. For example, if the brand is floating above the plate R2, the first plate you jump on will be L2. Then someone will jump on L1, then someone will jump on R1. Players must stay on the plates until the runner gets the brand. The runner will start his run on the first plate in the sequence. From here, he'll jump on each and every floating platform, making sure to run through each little orb that's on them, and then at the end, run into the brand to retrieve it. Once the runner has the brand, we'll jump into whichever sister isn't glowing, grab the aura, and then converge with the team at the damage spot. I'll let you know the best damage spots a little later. The aura will heal the team and protect everyone from incoming damage, including the explosion, so make sure everyone is standing in the aura during damage up until when the explosion finishes. After this, round 2 will begin. Someone new will become torn between dimensions, the brand will spawn again above another plate, and the timer will begin again. This time, the runner can steal the aura from the glowing sister, because she's the only one left, but you do have to kill her on this run. That's how all the mechanics work. Now let's do a run through and further explanation of the whole encounter. Before the encounter starts, someone random will be chosen as the runner. You'll want to look at what plate the brand is floating above and then assign plates. There are 2 strategies to assign plates. First is to assign plates to players based on the order they must be stepped on, which is counterclockwise from where the brand is. So for this, 3 players would be assigned a number in the order, so plate 1, plate 2, or plate 3. For round 2, they would go to the plate that is their number in the order, and the runner would replace them if one of them became the next runner. The other 2 players not doing anything would just kill enemies around the room. The second strategy to assign plates is called static plates. This is how my team will do it. Static plates means at the start, 4 players would be assigned a specific plate. So someone would be assigned L2, someone R2, someone L1, and someone R1. They would still step on the plates in order, of course, but it will be their job to step on that plate if it's available. If the brand is above their plate, they'll simply kill ads. In round 2, if they become runner, the previous runner will just replace their job. You can choose whatever strategy you want, just whatever is easier for your team. Start the encounter by stepping on the first plate in the counterclockwise order, and have players step on the plates one after the other, and stay on them until the runner retrieves the brand. At around 40 seconds of the timer, platforms with snipers will spawn on the left and right sides of the map, outside the playing area. Have plate players kill these before they get off their plate for damage. Once the runner gets the brand, have them jump over to the sister that isn't glowing and grab the aura. Make sure the runner calls this out so the team can then run to the damage spot. You can do damage from anywhere, but some spots are better than others. For the left sister, The close left plate and the little platform sticking out of the right sister's platform are the best spots. For the right sister, the same thing but opposite. Once you've killed one sister, when damaging the second sister, it's best to do damage on the platform where the first sister was standing. Once the aura has been stolen, everyone should be at the damage spot doing damage while the runner makes his way to the team as quickly as possible so they can get healed and protected by the aura. The runner can damage as well, by the way. If you fail to kill the first sister in round 1, you will have to wait until you can steal her aura again. On the second round, the second sister won't be glowing, so you have to steal her aura then, which means you can kill the first sister on round 3. If you do kill the first sister on round 1 though, you'll have to kill the second sister on round 2. If you don't feel confident you can do that, have the team get the first sister weak on round 1, but don't kill her. During the damage phase, taken enemies will shoot you. They won't be able to do damage because of the aura, but they will hurt you after damage has ended, so either take them out right after damage or have someone shoot at them during damage. Once damage has ended and the timer explosion happens, a new player will become torn between dimensions and the brand will be in a new location, which means new plates will have to be stepped on, still counterclockwise from the brand and still in order one at a time. Once both sisters are dead, you've beaten the encounter. The tips and tricks are easy for this one. Just remember to wait for the plate before you to make a noise and glow before stepping on the next one. Also remember that you can start running to the damage spot as soon as the runner grabs the brand, and you can start doing damage as soon as the runner steals the aura. Lastly, please talk with your team. Let them know once you've stepped on a plate or when you grab the brand as a runner. Now, let's talk about loadouts. You don't really need a Well of Radiance for this encounter because of the aura, which constantly heals you, so Warlocks can either run Nova Bomb or Chaos Reach for extra damage. They should still place down an Empowering Rift for the damage buff though. Either that or everyone can run High Energy Fire, which is the same damage buff as an Empowering Rift, whatever floats your boat. Also remember that Lunafaction boots still work with Empowering Rifts by increasing your range and reload speed when standing in one. Hunters, you already know. Mobius Quiver Tether or Marksman Golden Gun. Titans, Thunder Crash might actually work here, but the boss might stomp you when you hit her. Maybe have your Titans run Hammers or Sentinel to take out the taken enemies. They do have Rally Barricades, which will increase the team's reload speed, so that's one use for Titans I guess. Place the Titans on the plates, so they can use barricades to block sniper shots. Weapons are essentially the same as the other boss encounters. Linear Fusions, Rockets, Parasite might be good, the Izzy Rocket combo will also be great. Remember, if your team is using rockets, have one G-Horn. This might be the one encounter where Divinity is useful, because the sisters move their heads around constantly. For special weapons, snipers are once again the go-to, both for damage and to take out those snipers that spawn on the outside of the map. Bows and scouts will also be good for those snipers, so you might want to run those as your primaries. Champion enemies could be added, maybe one of the taken enemies during damage, and as for changes to the encounter, I don't think they'll change anything. And that's it for sisters. The next encounter is the final one, Oryx. We've come a long way, and if you found anything in this video helpful, I ask you to show your support with a like, a subscribe, or even a comment. I would really appreciate it. The Oryx encounter takes place in the same area and will keep the same location callouts: far left, far right, close left, and close right. Your objective in this encounter is to kill Oryx. The Oryx boss fight is probably the most cinematic boss in all of Destiny. I say this because you can't really speed up the fight in any way, and his health bar isn't based on raw damage, but rather completing mechanics to take away his health. The Oryx fight is split up into 3 main parts. We'll call them damage, running, and teleport. The encounter starts with damage, so we'll begin there. Damage combines mechanics from sisters with some new mechanics. There are 7 mechanics in the damage portion: plates, torn between dimensions, the brand, the aura, the vessel of Oryx, Light Eater Ogres, and Corrupted Light. At the start, Oryx will go to a random plate. At the same time, the brand will spawn above another plate. We'll use the same names as sisters, so L1, R1, L2, and R2. Whatever plate Oryx is at will be the first plate that must be stepped on. Players will have to step on the plates in the same manner as in sisters to allow the runner to get the brand. In this encounter, whoever becomes torn between dimensions is not random. When Oryx slams his fist on the plate for the first time, a floating ball will spawn on the plate, and when you run into this ball, you'll become torn. Whoever the runner is should jump onto the first plate before the person assigned to that plate to make sure they become torn. While players are standing on the plates, Light Eater Ogres will spawn next to their plate. Ogres will spawn in the same order as plates, so if L2 is first, the first ogre will spawn next to L2, and then the next plate in the sequence, and the next, and even near the plate where the brand is. These ogres should be killed as quickly as possible. People that are not on plates should help with taking these down. When your ogre dies, it will drop corrupted light. These will be used later. While the plate players are killing ogres, the runner will be up in the air and jumping on the platforms to reach the brand. By the time they reach the brand, most ogres should be dead. Once the runner has the brand, he'll run to the front where a tomb ship will have dropped a knight called the Vessel of Oryx. To be exact, the tomb ship will spawn about 25 seconds after Oryx first slams his fist, and the vessel spawns 5 seconds after the ship spawns. The runner with the brand will want to steal the aura from the vessel. This will give the runner the aura of immortality, which just keeps everyone safe. At this point, everyone should be in the middle of the room between the two sister platforms. Make sure to kill the vessel or else he'll go toward the corrupted light and take them away. If he does manage to do this, it's bad, but it doesn't mean a wipe. Oryx will slam his hand a second time, and soon after, his chest will open up. As soon as his chest opens, Oryx will begin charging an attack that will kill everyone. To stop this, shoot Oryx's chest until he gets staggered. In Destiny 1, this could be done mostly by shooting primaries, but you might have to use some heavy and specials to do this on day 1. Once staggered, the runner and one other person will want to keep constant damage on Oryx. This could be with primaries, just make sure it's constant. The other 4 players on the team, so the plate players and an extra, will each run to their own corrupted light. Just have the extra player go to the plate where the brand was. Everyone should stand next to their corrupted light and step in at the same time. Once their name pops up on the bottom left saying they've detonated corrupted light, they can then run back to the Aura of Immortality in the middle. If the 2 players were dealing constant damage to the chest, and all 4 corrupted lights detonated at the same time, Oryx will lose 25% of his health, which means you have to do this whole thing 3 more times. Oryx will then return to the middle, and you will enter the next portion of the fight, running. This part is an in-between phase. Oryx will spawn bombs on each player. Players have to run around constantly to avoid being in the radius of the explosion. You want to avoid having players run into each other's paths, so simply have the plate players run around their plates, have the runner run up and down on the far half of the map, and have the extra player run up and down on the close half. Oryx will do this for about 30 seconds. After this running portion, you'll repeat the damage portion again. It's the same except for the fact that Oryx will start at a different plate. Complete the damage portion again, and if you manage to detonate all 4 corrupted lights again, Oryx should be at 50% health. The running part only happens if Oryx is below 50% health, so you won't have to do that again unless you fail to detonate all 4 corrupted lights in one of the damage phases. For the new in-between phase, instead of running, Oryx will spawn a black ball on the far side of the map. This will be the teleport portion of the encounter. Oryx will start randomly teleporting people into this black ball, where there will be a shade of Oryx. This shade will hide in the shadows and has an attack where he'll charge at you in the middle. You'll know when he's about to do this attack because he'll start glowing. Players on the outside not yet teleported will want to kill the Boomer Knights and Thrall that spawn, or else the Thrall will walk into the ball. Call out when the shade is going for a slam attack so people being teleported in can know to get out of the middle. Also, call out where the shade goes when he's in the shadows. It can be hard to tell, so make sure to communicate with your team. Kill the shade to end this portion of the encounter. After this, you'll enter another damage portion, which, if successful, will bring the boss to 25% health. Then another teleport phase, then the final damage phase. After this final damage phase, Oryx's health will be at 0, but he'll go to the middle one last time and you'll have to shoot his chest to finish him off. You might understand the whole encounter from that explanation, or you might not, so let's do a quick run through. You start the encounter by running up to the floating ball on the far end of the map. Before you start, assign roles. 1 person will be the runner the whole time. 3 people will be on plates and assign them based on order. So assign who will be first plate, second plate, and third plate. That leaves 2 more people. These 2 will stay in the middle during plates and help kill Light Eater ogres and other enemies. Assign one of these players as the person who will grab the 4th corrupted light for when after Oryx has been staggered. Once you've begun the encounter, some Thrall will spawn as well as Boomer Knights on the plates. Just kill these. Next, Oryx will go to a plate. Once he slams, have the runner jump on the first plate to grab the orb. Then have the first plate player jump on. Jump on the other plates in order, and kill Light Eater ogres as they spawn. The runner will jump on the platforms in the air and grab the brand. The runner will then run to the Vessel of Oryx and take the Aura of Immortality. After this, everyone will converge in the middle and kill the vessel. Oryx will then slam, his chest will open up, and he'll charge up his attack. Everyone must shoot at Oryx's chest to stagger him. Once Oryx is staggered, the 4 players must go stand next to their corrupted light while the runner and the extra player keep damage on the chest with primaries. Do a countdown so everyone can step in their corrupted light at the same time, stay in until it's detonated, then run back to the aura and keep shooting Oryx until he gets hurt. This will be the end of the first out of 4 damage phases. Next, Oryx will go to the far end and start spawning bombs around players. Players must constantly run around their own space to avoid being in the blast radius of the bomb and to avoid running into other players' paths. The running phase will end after 30 seconds and the damage phase will start again. Oryx will start at a new plate this time, but everything will remain the same. Once this damage phase is over, Oryx should be at 50% health, and the teleport phase will begin. Oryx will spawn a black sphere at the far end of the map and will begin teleporting players into the sphere. Inside the sphere is a shade of Oryx that must be killed. Be careful with the slam attack. Players outside the sphere should kill Thrall and Knights to prevent Thrall from going into the sphere. Once the shade is dead, the damage phase will begin again. After this damage phase, the teleport phase will begin again. Kill the shade, and you'll head into the final damage phase. Once Oryx is at 0 health, he'll head over to the far side, and the team will have to unload everything into his chest until he dies once and for all. I have 0 tips and tricks for this encounter. I feel like I literally covered everything for you to be successful. There is one important thing that I want to talk to you about before loadouts. If you remember, for Golgoroth in the Destiny 1 hard mode version, there was a new mechanic called Unstable Light. I covered that because I'm not 100% sure if that'll be added to the Destiny 2 version. Same thing goes for this encounter. In the hard mode version, there is a new enemy called Light Eater Knights. These spawn during the damage portion, and they spawn after an ogre is killed. They will spawn in the opposite corner from where the ogre spawns. So the Light Eater Knight for L2 will be on the far right corner of the map, for example. These will spawn after each ogre dies, even the Brandplate ogre. The Light Eater Knights do exactly what the Vessel of Oryx does. They will go after the corrupted light. It's the job of the plate players to turn and kill their knight after their ogre dies, and it's the job of everyone to make sure the 4th knight dies. That's all. I add this at the end because, for one, I'm not sure if it'll be in the D2 version, and also because you have a better understanding of the encounter now than in the middle of the explanation. And now it's time to talk about loadouts. Like I said at the start of this encounter, the damage to Oryx isn't the main issue. However, bringing big damage is still important. I think Stasis might be really good for once in this raid, both because of its great crowd control, and if the Light Eater Knights do come into Destiny 2, you'll be able to slow them down so they can't get to the corrupted lights. The 2 players helping with ogres will stay in the middle, and I think a Helm of Saint Bubble will be really good for this. Titans, you're actually useful this time. You can also run Solar if you want, or like I said before, Stasis. Warlocks have the Stasis turrets. They can also use Chaos Reach to bring some damage. Nova Bomb can be good as well. All character subclass options are pretty flexible in this encounter. Hunters, like Titans and Warlocks, have a lot of good options. Stasis with Silence and Squall, Quiver Tether for big damage, Blade Barrage with Shards of Galnor, even that new Arc Super might be good. Now, time for weapons. While your abilities had a lot of flexibility, the weapon side of things is kind of the same old. You want to use linear fusions or rockets so you can defeat the Light Eater ogres as quickly as possible. I've talked about Parasite before, but it might genuinely be good for this fight. It might even one-shot the ogres if you have times 20 Worm's Hunger. Snipers for your special weapons as always, but Wave Frame and Blinding Grenade Launchers could be good as well. The runner might want to run something like Sweet Business or Tommy's Matchbook, because they'll have to keep damage on Oryx's chest. Finally, for champions, it would be crazy if they did this, but they could make the Light Eater ogres unstoppable. Like I said, that would be a little insane, so I don't think they'll do it. And that's all for Oryx, and pretty much it for the whole raid. Don't go anywhere though, because I have some information to give after these words. If you did make it all the way here and enjoyed or learned anything from this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. To me, this video is not the end of one long video making process, but it's the beginning of a new journey. I will continue to create videos, I will be consistent, and I will make it one day. It's hard, but I have to. For myself and for the world, I will make an impact. This may not be the best video it could have been, but I tried my best, and they will get better. Now, if your drive for loot has brought you to this part of the video, I will go over the 3 secret chests. Think of it as an epilogue. First is after the Tombship jumping puzzle before you go through the door that's open by standing on the plate. Jump off to the left and climb up this ledge. You'll reach a door in the wall. Both plates behind you must be stepped on for the door to open, and then you can get the chest. You can step on the plates on the other side to allow the behind players to get the chests. The second secret chest is in Golgoroth's cellar after the Warpriest encounter. I'll have a map on the screen helping you get it. Essentially, there are 4 plates in this maze, and all 4 must be stood on at the same time to open a door in the middle of the maze, which will reveal the chest. 3 of the plates can easily be ran to. For the first plate, make 2 left turns from the entrance. For the second plate, make 2 right turns from the entrance. For the third plate, from the entrance, turn right, then left, then left, then right again, and one last right. The fourth is kind of tricky. From the entrance, turn right, then left again, then run all the way down the hall until you've reached this door. The plate is behind this door. To get behind it, you have to jump through a hole above the door. It's hard to see and it's pretty high, so use jump exotics. Or what you could probably do is use stasis to build platforms to help you get up. Once all 4 plates are being stepped on, the door in the middle will open and you can get the chest. The third and final secret chest is in the Transept jumping puzzle. When you reach this pillar right before the first plate, jump over to the pillar and invisible platforms will appear. Follow the platforms up and you'll eventually reach a room with a chest. Remember that some of these chest spots could be removed and some could be added. These are just all the ones from Destiny 1. Now for the final part of the video. On day 1, in order to get the 24-hour emblem, you have to first complete the raid in its base version. Then you'll have to complete the raid a second time in the challenge mode. Now I have no clue if these challenges will be the same ones from Destiny 1. That's why I didn't include them. But if they are, here is the list of challenges for Destiny 1 King's Fall. You know how the raid works if you've watched the video, so I believe in you being able to apply your skills to complete these. If these aren't the challenges for the Destiny 2 challenge mode, then we're both in the same boat. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Share the video with your friends and around the community, subscribe, like, ask any questions in the comments, and most importantly, have fun in King's Fall.